And how many of you have heard the piece and have some awareness, but not a lot of detail? And who's never heard it before? Right, okay. Okay, so for those that have heard it, of course, the first question you might be asking is, I'm sure in my notes it says there's 90 players that play this piece. Well, the version we're hearing this afternoon is the chamber version, so written for a smaller number of instruments, and hence piano's been brought in as well to help out with that. So you're going to hear this afternoon a slightly different version to what you're used to hearing. But I think that'll be quite helpful because we'll be able to perhaps hear a bit more clearly, pick out some of the things that are going on that Schoenberg's trying to do, and to work out what some of these strange words like atonal and dissonant and chromatic all mean. Now, because I've never heard the chamber version either, I thought the most useful thing to do to start with would just be to hear the piece through, to get a sense of it, to hear the moods and the sounds and the timbres of the piece. So it's quite a short piece, so we're going to ask the orchestra first of all just to play the piece through, and we get a sense of the mood of it.
Short but tricky.
Sounds like. We're going to try and pick a few things this afternoon for you so that you can understand how Schoenberg's trying to go about getting his ideas across. We have two questions that came in, one from Rachel, one from Anna at Northampton High School. Very good questions. The first one was, how does the conductor cope with the score variability, with all those changes of time and timings? And how does the orchestra manage to follow the conductor in this piece? I think they're great questions, so we'll start, please, with Renata's that.
Gosh, it's not the most complex score in terms of we're approaching tempo changes. It's just really a question of trying to get inside the music, and so the changes of speed. It's not about the change of speed metronomically, but it's what is the composer trying to do with the music. So then you can get some understanding of why the composer wants you to go faster at this point or slower at this point. It's not just the fancy putting in a change of speed because he thinks you've got bored with being at the same tempo, but because the music demands a different feelings to it, and that's why it changes the tempo. How the orchestra follows me, I have no idea. I think it's that same thing. It's understanding what? The pulse
we're going to try and do is see what exactly Schoenberg was doing here, how he did create the piece, and try and see how there is a sense of structure and a sense of order, even though it doesn't sound like it. And of course, the name of the piece, Prepati, if you research that, you'll get slightly different answers, but sudden changes or sudden reversal of the sort of kind of common ideas here. And so you can hear, I hope, in the piece, the changes in mood and tempo all the way through. So we listened to the Mozart piece, and of course we focused on key all the time. Constant references to major keys and minor keys, and so on. Of course, Schoenberg does the opposite to that. He breaks down the old key system, and he replaces it in this piece with an idea called a hexachord. So he uses groups of 6 notes to create his ideas. It could be 6 notes in a little melody line, or it could be 6 notes all clustered together as a chord. And as you can imagine, those notes in a chord, 6 notes are going to clash, so you're going to get a dissonant sound. Now, one of the problems with having the original score and then having a chamber orchestra is that instruments that are down on here may not be here. So we're going to try and demonstrate some things, find out who's playing what as we go along. What I'd like to do to start with is just go right back to the beginning of the piece, bar 1. And we actually start with a little melodic hexachord. It won't be like any melody you've heard where it all feels nice and ordered. There'll be big gaps and leads, which we'll talk about in a minute. I wonder if you could just hear that hexachord at the beginning, and then also through to bar 3, where we finish with a chord, so 6 notes, a hexachord there, all played together.
First part, so you can really hear the melodic line. And then the first 3 bars up to tempo, with everyone else tempo.
Do you know that again?
Yeah. More practice you have.
Can we hold the chord at the end?
Yeah, so should we do it after in the strings, the last chord? Just hold the last chord when we get there.
Okay, so you can hear straight away that how using hexachords completely changes the nature of a piece. So whereas Mozart is using basically 3 note chords, triads, and keys, we've got this principle here of hexachords. And so the whole piece then is based around these ideas, and we'll show you how they come back later on in the piece. Now, Schoenberg's approach to melody is also very different. We don't have nice, even, balanced phrases. We have little fragments of melody passed around instruments, and also the melody lines are really stretched as well. There's a word disjunct, which is always a good word to use when describing these melodies, because the melodies leap a long way. So perhaps instead of going up just a semitone, you go up an octave and a semitone. And it just increases the intensity and the emotion, the anxiety, almost the strain in the music. I wondered if we could try a what-if question here. At bar 10. Now, at bar 10, you've got one of the few moments in the piece where one instrument, which is the clarinet in the original score, I think it was a clarinet again, plays quite a long 5-6 bar melody line, which then we can hear used later on. I wonder if it's possible to hear it, and is it possible to hear it without such a big range, with sort of the octaves kind of squeezed in?
So,
is it possible?
perhaps you could put your first A, first upper octave, but then the G, the long G, F and E flat, that's down there. So it's all within that. You want to do the original version first?
Yeah, the original first, yeah.
So this is the original with really wide leaps. So I thought I was good at last week.
Okay, so the second time, I don't know if you could hear, the notes were played close together. It just took away perhaps some of the strangeness of the piece, the anxiety, the strain. Can you say the melody once more? Because this is one that they need to really hear at the same time. Okay, lovely. And just the first two notes of that melody, please. So that's one of those strange intervals. It's actually a semitone. What you hear is a semitone. So like that, it sounds fairly normal and usual. But stretch it an octave again, and you get that much more strained feel. And that interval is used a lot as a little melodic idea. So one of these fragments that Schoenberg constantly uses. So we'll have a look at that in a few more minutes. Okay, we'll look now at bar 22 through to 27, if possible. Schoenberg has a way of indicating in the score which is his most important melodic line. Not sure about the pronunciations, but I believe it's Hauptstimme, which means that this line is an important melody that needs to come through. He also has another word, Nebenstimme, which means the secondary kind of melody. Well, is it possible to hear those that are playing the Hauptstimme melody from 22 to 27, just to hear how it's passed around?
In the chamber verse, I guess balance is less of an issue. Which line would you like us to
Right. So, just in case you couldn't hear David there, saying in the chamber version, it's slightly, presumably less important to make certain lines stand out because there's less instruments. So we're going to try and work out how the melody lines passed around. There's another big long word, Klangfarben melody, which means tone colour melody. So the idea that the change of instrument is as important as the actual melody itself. So the idea of it being passed around and hearing different expressions of the sound. So, looking at my score here, it starts with viola and cello, gets past to the oboe at 23, gets past to the horns and trumpets at 24, and it's picked up by the trombone, isn't it? But even those 3 or 4 bars, just to hear how the melodies passed around with those instruments.
So, sorry,
So bar 22.
22.
Which to 25-ish.
25.
Yeah.
It'd be a good idea.
Sense of it, and for you to focus on, so the melody starts here with the strings, and then gets picked up with some of the woodwind, and you just hear different fragments of melody coming in. This is how Schoenberg kind of moved all the way through this piece. Okay, so we're going to look now at another element of Schoenberg's piece here, in that he tries to create, or he tries to use instruments at their extremes. So we have some very loud, you'll see the dynamic markings on the score, treble S, treble B's if you studied it, but also extremes of range as well. And we're just going to look at a little passage from 18 to 24. Looking at, particularly I think the cello and double bass melody. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Just to hear how they go up into their extreme register. And then perhaps try an octave lower if possible, just to hear the difference so you can see what was achieved by doing it. The octave, those middle two bars, which is bars 23 and 4.
Just straight on there.
We go from 22. How the sort of colour, the tone changes from those octaves, and that again just helps Schoenberg to get across the moods and ideas of the piece. We're going to look now just at a few words that we recognise probably already in terms of composition, things like imitation, inversion, and development, and see how ideas are developed during this piece. So you can see that actually there are some techniques that we're used to using that Schoenberg does use. We're going to go back to the clarinet melody we heard a few moments ago. And perhaps just the first 3 or 4 bars of that, if possible, at bar 12. And then we're going to see how this melody is developed and used during the rest of the piece.
So we've got yourself and the slow build.
Yes.
Bar 10.
Okay, thank you very much. And then if we go to bar 35, we've got the strings, yeah.
So secondly, in bar 35, second line of the overture.
Thank you very much. And then again, and very differently treated now, bar 59. So we're right at the end now. The piece is changed in mood a lot, changed in tempo. I wonder if you could hear it very slowly, and then play to its full speed.
Down the double.
Ostinato going there, repeating idea out of that opening idea. We'll just let the context now to the end.
We'll just do that. Do it off speed. Just a second again. We've done. But just from bar figure 9.
But we're going to hear the piece now for one final time, and just hope that you can just try and pick out some of those things now. It's important to know that where we heard that little fragment, there's 3 different sections of the piece where that idea is used, and therefore we label those as section A, and 2 other little bits in between which are labelled B and C. So we've got that A, B, A, C, A structure, combo type structure. So I'm hoping now, as you listen back to it, you can A, hear the hexachords at the start, hear some of those melodies, how they're very disjunct, big leaps, angular is another word because of the way they're written. And also just hear how those little fragments occasionally return and build into this whole piece.
This workshop is the chorus and the glory of the Lord from Handel's Messiah. For this final part of the workshop, I'm delighted to welcome singers from the County Youth Choir who are going to be singing the vocal parts during the workshop, and they'll be led by Beth Hodgson. However, at the end of the workshop, we will have a run through of the chorus with everyone in the hall having a go at the vocal parts. So just hold on, your turn will come a little bit later this afternoon. To take us through this piece then is Miss Fitzjohn and Mr. Chu.
Afternoon, everybody. Well, I think we're probably going to get started with a play and singing, not for you guys, but just with the orchestra featuring the singers as well. I think that's probably useful. I would hope that everybody's got a school or something to look at regarding that and the glory of the Lord. So if you want to take those out now and have a follow through, we'll just run the whole thing. It's only a couple of minutes long, and definitely worth listening to. That's all right.
interactive for you now. Instead of you just sitting there listening, we'd like you to do a bit of thinking as well. So if you'd like to find the worksheet you've been given, and there's an activity activity on the top of it we'd like you to do straight away, and that is to write a definition of what a cadence is in 10 words or less. And you have got 37 seconds to do it. Go. Can I have my trusty assistant down here, please, as well? I've got 20 more seconds. Okay, thank you. Now your attention back, thank you. Right, Mark is going to come around with a microphone. Anybody brave enough to put their hands up and offer a definition? Oh, not feeling very brave. Oh, yeah, there's one over there, Mark.
Well, 2 chords in a section/phrase.
Pardon, can you say that again to me?
2 chords in a section/phrase.
Right, does anybody disagree with that as a definition? Or would anybody like to change it or add to it? No? We're happy with it. Oh, somebody at the back?
A cadence is a group of notes played to finish.
Okay, so cadence is we're agreed that it's the end of a phrase and it's made up out of 2 chords. So that's a general definition for a cadence. And there are 2 different cadences that you hear in this piece. One you hear quite a lot, which is a perfect cadence, and one you hear right at the end, which is a playable cadence. You might spot the deliberate error on your sheet just to keep you awake, where it says imperfect. So we are going to ask you to listen out for these cadences during our talk. Every time we want your attention back, the orchestra are going to play a cadence. And we would like you to identify whether this is a perfect cadence by doing this, International Sign Language, being happy, and everything's great. Can you show me your perfect cadence hand, please? Thank you. And the perfect cadence will sound like this. You have the perfect cadence, please. Thank you. And if you hear a playable cadence, which sounds like this, I would like you to do this with your hand. Okay. So, shall we have a little practice? Could we hear a random cadence, and let's ask the audience to identify which one they think it is. that perfect or is it playable? 3, 2, 1, decide. Okay, right. That was a perfect cadence. But we tried to trick you a little bit by having it played adagio, like the playable was played in the example. Every time we ask you to do a little activity, we're going to ask for you to identify the cadence that brings us back together. The difference between, obviously, the perfect and the playable cadence is the penultimate chord, the one before the last chord, because the last chord in both examples is the tonic chord, chord 1. In the perfect, it's preceded by chord 4, sorry, wrong way round. Perfect is preceded by chord 5, and the playable cadence is preceded by chord 4. So playable goes 4 to 1, and perfect goes 5 to 1. And the interesting feature about this piece is that there are perfect cadences throughout the piece, but it actually finishes on a playable cadence, which some people call the amen cadence, because it sounds like the cadence that is often used in religious music for the amen at the end of the piece.
Right, now there's a great advantage to go in last one presenting a piece like this with the orchestra playing for us, because we've heard a lot of different demonstrations of styles, methods of playing, different instruments within the ensemble. I'm just going to have a look at a couple of things now with you in terms of the style and the instrumental forces and how they're used and how that attributes to this particular era. And Handel's aim in terms of making this a baroque style piece. So I was wondering if also we could just hear the opening kind of 11 bars, that would be great. Just as written, that would be perfect. Thank you very much, yes. So what we'd like to now, what I'm going to show you, well, I'm not going to show you, I'm going to show you is a nice little contrast there. That's the baroque style, this is what Handel's going for. We're going to play you a different version, and then we're going to send you away for another minute just to have a chat with people around you about the differences between the two performances you'll hear, and also the similarities. There are obviously some similarities between the two. So orchestra, I'm going to let you smoke this up. If you go, please. Orchestra. Don't applaud yet. Now, most of you don't know me, but I'm a bit of a victim picker. I'm not going to go for hands in the air because a lot of you are very shy. So be prepared. You have 60 seconds to talk about some of the similarities and or differences on your sheet, which you can fill in. So, 60 seconds to save yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Off you go, please. Twenty more seconds, ladies and gentlemen. Right, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring you back. So, wonderful. And the orchestra is going to have another little cadence for us. So, orchestra. So, was that perfect or playable after 3? 1, 2, 3. Pretty good. That was indeed a playable cadence. Well done for those of you who got that. Right. Mark with our roving mic is going to pick the first victim as directed. Off you go, Mark. So.
Right, Mark. Music is this.
Right. Hello, young lady on the end. That's right. Unfortunately, you sat on the end of the row. Could you pick for me something you thought was different between the two versions that the orchestra played that time? So, what was the one difference that you picked out between the two performances? The second one was much more legato. It was much smoother, much more sweeping. Wonderful. Mark, let's get you moving again. Up in the second row, please. Wonderful, Mark. Right, so Anna from my school, what a coincidence. So Anna, let's go with, could you give me something you thought was a similarity between the two performances? So, they did have the same melody both times. It was the same melody we could play both times across there. Did anybody else? We'll go for a volunteer here. One more person, a similarity between the two performances. Something else. We've got one over here, Mark. Let's see you work for your money. Come on, let's go. Where's that hand gone? It's descended back into the crowd of people. There we go. Sorry, could you say that a little bit louder for us one more time? Thank you. Same patterns and rhythms. So they didn't dramatically change anything in terms of what the actual printed music was, but in terms of how they expressed that, the emotion behind it. It's meant to be a much more emotive version the second time round. We went for a romantic era style piece, which is about expressing a lot more with even a short amount of music, rather than the rock, which is quite simple. Stating in terms of here is the emotions we're going for, here's the style we're going for. Now I'm going to direct another question. We said we talked about the use of the different forces here. The Baroque orchestra is really focused on the string section. And I wonder if we could just hear a little bit of the string, just from the opening. Just the opening.
Baroque or Romantic?
Let's go for the traditional Baroque, if that's okay. Once more with our schmots, just to really hear that difference in emotional intensity, what they're trying to convey this time. Now, I'm going to pass over to David just to talk a bit about how the orchestra might relate to the Baroque era, because we unfortunately don't have a harpsichord with us today. Hopefully, those of you who studied this piece have looked at or heard this piece performed with a harpsichord version. So, over to you, David. Would you like the microphone? Or?
I'll shout. I'll make it shout. Yes, I mean, most performances, certainly in Hamilton, they would have been directed from the keyboard, with Hamilton himself probably directed from the harpsichord. And there are advantages and disadvantages in that. Certainly, I mean, I'm not a keyboard player myself, and the orchestra certainly wouldn't like it if I started playing harpsichord. The advantage, really, and it works with a small ensemble, is that you are really very much part of the ensemble. So certainly there's the advantage there. I suppose the disadvantage is that, particularly if you've got a soloists, and perhaps slightly larger orchestras and maybe used to working with, then it helps be independent, not having, otherwise you're a bit like doctors, you've got to be playing the harpsichord, cueing soloists, cueing the orchestra, keeping the chorus intact as well. So it's, I think there are pros and cons. It depends on the size of the choir you're working with, the size of the orchestra, how experienced the soloists are, how experienced the orchestra is. I don't know if the orchestra has any views on, do you really like just doing the indirect from harpsichord? They would do, yeah, they'd like to get rid of it, but definitely, yeah. Any other food? Yes. So here so if you're working a lot as an ensemble, so it's a string quartet, and you wouldn't have a conductor. Partly having a conductor can just save time, and so often in the world we live in, there is the rehearsal time is often very limited, and just having somebody standing up front, if you like, negotiating that, can just save a huge amount of time. But it's the same with if we're working with soloists. Very often what I feel my main job then is to sort of encourage a dialogue between soloist and orchestra. If that's working well, as it always does, then I try and really take a back seat. So the role of the conductor as well is flexible. Keeping out of the way as much as possible.
Right, thank you. Yes, we've got another quick task for you now. Some of you might have played 4 Picks 1 Word on your mobile. There's a quick 4 Picks 1 Word for you to do. See if you can work out the word at the top of the second sheet, activity 3. Put the answer in the star, and if you get time, write a definition, but we're literally going to give you about 30 seconds if you need to move on quickly. Okay, thank you. All right, could we have another cadence, please, for our audience to work out? Three, two, one, go. Good, you're getting better at this. It was indeed a perfect cadence, so thank you very much. Has anybody worked out the word that is in the 4 Picks 1 Word? Hands up, if you have. Okay, can you shout really loud? Correct, well done. It's terrorist dynamics. No explosions, not terrorist dynamics. And you'll find there's a lot of terrorist dynamics in this piece, which means dynamics that switch very quickly from being forte to piano, or they change very quickly up or down. And to connect what we've just been saying with being conducted and having a conductor in front of you, we want to give you an experience of, number one, the terrorist dynamics, and number two, actually being conducted yourselves. So David's going to lead you very quickly in a clapping activity where you are going to have to follow the dynamics that the conductor is giving you. Shall I hand over to you, David? Yep.
Okay, just roll on your back. How do you know what you're going to do? So, it's this. Okay. Right. I have such untold power. It's wonderful. Okay, we're going to do this 2 ways. First of all, I'm going to use this incredible power at my disposal just to go loud
aerodynamics in this piece change very suddenly, so you can listen out for them later on when we hear the piece again through. There is another activity on your sheet which we're not going to have time to do today, but if you'd like to perhaps have a think about it with your teachers back at school, and that is to... Thanks. That is to analyse the different textures in the piece and the amount of different textures there are in the piece, how much there are of each. So there are 3 main textures that you will hear in the piece that you, again, might want to listen out for later on. A homophonic texture, polyphonic texture, and you might want to think about what the third one might be in the blank. So we'll let you take that away and do that in your schools when you get back.
Last little bit very quickly, guys. So when I took the mic before, we talked a bit about how expressive the orchestra could be if they chose not to break out of that baroque style. There's also other features that Handel chooses to keep the same all the way through as part of that kind of sameness, really, of the baroque style for a whole piece. The last one I'd like to look at, orchestra, is just a bit of tempo. So I'd like to look at roughly 3 bars, 53, 63, as a little section for you guys to play for us. Now, this is and the Glory of the Lord. It's meant to be a celebratory piece. And there's not any tempo changes apart from the very final section, which is kind of the plagal cadence at the end, the amen at the end to bring it together, to give it that kind of more solemn feel. What I'd like to show you, I'd like to show you, once you hear, bars 53 to 63, if we can have it once, maybe at a very slow speed, and then at a very, very fast tempo, orchestra as fast as you can possibly manage, that would be very interesting for us. So, thanks very much.
Oh, sorry, very slow, sorry.
Very slow.
Yes, sorry.
It's still quite a, it still has a nice air about it, and you'd say, yeah, that could certainly be a religious piece, but it maybe hasn't got that celebratory feel to it. So let's push the tempo up a little bit. Let's try it. I'll let you take the speed of your own choice there, David, but as fast as you can go for us would be very interesting. I think you lose a lot of that solemnness because you're going so fast, you're struggling to get all the notes in. Now, unfortunately, we're out of time to talk a little bit more about this piece, but we are ready to perform it. So I'm going to pass you over to David at this point. You should all have something, words, score, that you need, and should have hopefully been sat in the appropriate sections for this performance. David, I'll pass you over to you. Thank you very much. One thing, everybody, just to interrupt Orchestra, we are going to stand up to sing this, so would you please stand up?
Well done, everyone. We're going to have a short 10-minute break. Please don't leave your seats unless you have to, but by all means stretch your legs. There are loose at the back and outside in the foyer. We need a prompt start in 10 minutes' time, everyone. And I need you in your seats promptly, ready for the concert to start. Okay? Thank you. Right, everyone, thank you, and welcome back to the final part of this afternoon's workshop and concert. I'm going to hand over straight away to David, who is going to introduce the pieces to end this afternoon. So, David, over to you.
First of all, we'll just a quick tune. So if you could stop chatter while we tune, then we can hear. That'd be great. Victoria, thank you very much. Thanks very much. I hope this afternoon today's been helpful for you, and hopefully, it doesn't matter how many times you listen to your CDs or whatever it is, actually hearing it live and seeing how an orchestra works and how we can try out different things and experiment, hopefully that's going to be really helpful when you're writing your own music as well. And we're very friendly, we're very approachable. If you actually want to email the orchestra any questions to the place, we'll pass them on. So, don't think at the end of the day that's it as far as it's concerned. So, we've got 4 short words for you we're going to play through now. You're going to start saying the Baroque period, in Baroque, with the arrival of the Queen of Sheba. And in the slow movement, the orchestra starts off exploring, it should be G major. We end up on a B flat, and then Haydn, who would be directing us from the violin, launches into this sort of musical tirade in G major to show which key we should be playing. So he's always playing around, and I think his symphonies, they're great musicians. They're almost, he was really writing for his orchestra almost more than it was the listener. So this is the first movement, Fine Symphony number 83, The Hen. recognise this. First we're going to Mozart Symphony.
Thank you very much indeed. That's a fabulous way to end the afternoon. Brilliant. Thank you. Everyone, thank you very much for being so attentive this afternoon, sitting and listening and participating so well. I hope that you can go away feeling that you've added something to your knowledge and understanding of the set works from your GCSE that you're currently studying. Before we go, just a few words of thanks. The GCSE workshop this afternoon was funded by Northamptonshire Music Education Hub in partnership with an organisation called Orchestras Live. I'd particularly like to thank Mr. Alistair Tom and Jan Ford, Partnership Manager for Orchestras Live, for making this afternoon possible, for devising an engaging programme for all of us to listen to. Thank you again to Northampton School for Girls for hosting this event and lending us your fabulous theatre. That's really useful. Thank you very much indeed. The 5 teachers who prepared this afternoon's presentations and guided us through the pieces so skillfully. Thank you very much indeed for your time this afternoon. It's really appreciated. Thank you, Beth Hodgson and the singers from the County Youth Choir for helping us with the Handel Oratorio this afternoon. But I would particularly like to thank this afternoon David Curtis and the members of the Orchestra of the Swan for their fabulous input, fabulous playing. Thank you very much indeed.